I'm pleased to be joined right now by the chairman of VaynerMedia, also CEO of Vayner Sports. He has also been very integral in getting the All-In Challenge that so many of us have heard about and so many celebrities have gotten all in on. He's been very instrumental in getting that off the ground. He is our friend Gary Vaynerchuk. How are you, Gary V?
I'm extremely well. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. Everybody well in your family, in your neck of the woods? Everybody, knock on wood, okay?
Yes, knock on wood, okay. Thank you so much for asking.
You bet, of course. How did the All-In Challenge come to be? Walk me through this, Gary.
Yeah, Michael Rubin, the founder and chairman of Fanatics, which I'm sure all the listeners are aware of since that's where you buy your sports merch, came up with this idea, was sitting around, wanted to give back, reached out to his friend Alan Tisch. They went in a couple days in. They said, wait a minute, we need a lot more firepower. They reached out, and I got excited about it. And we've been under a cocoon for the last, 10 days. It's been live for about 7.5 days. We've raised $16.1 million.
Amazing.
And we are going to be feeding people through putting all proceeds through Feeding America's Food Fund, No Kid Hungry. And so it's been unbelievable. Like, I don't know, it has gotten a lot of attention, so I think people have seen it, but like golf with, Justin Timberlake and Bill Murray at Pebble Beach, Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, going through and to your house and doing a lemonade stand. There's just all Cubans giving you a one-day contract to be a Maverick, and I'm here and putting you in the game. Some Drake, Ellen DeGeneres co-host, like crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. So super, super duper excited about it.
Yeah, again, places like Feeding America, Meals on Wheels, World Central Kitchen, No Kid Hungry, just to name a few, to combat food insecurity. And the neat thing about this, Gary, that I love is obviously the famous people wanting to pitch in. That is a lot of pizzazz to it. But there's and I know you're all about this, certainly with your empathy wines. There's a lot of positivity to this. It's all focusing on what we can do now, and then focusing on what the world will be when we're through all this and the great stuff that people can look forward to. I love that part of it, Gary.
I think so. I think, you look for win-win situations, right? And the access that these individuals are giving, and a lot of these individuals have been doing a ton of stuff behind the scenes and giving already, but now they're giving up, time. And it's really significant. It's been really fun. And the raffle tickets at for $10, you could be flying on Drake's plane and going to his concert and hanging out with him, or be in Leo DiCaprio's new movie with a speaking role. Like, it's pretty intense stuff.
Yeah, again, because this is and want to certainly linger on this a little bit here, it's a raffle, right? And then there's, of course, you can bid as well, so you have a chance
there's both.
Right.
There's auction, summer raffles. There's a lot of dynamics. Honestly, we're just trying to figure out how to raise the most amount of dollars. So we feel, Tom Brady's experience, right? A gentleman I despise as a New York Jets fan, but his package right the current bid is $775,000. This is, you fly into game one, he flies you in. You after the game, he goes out to dinner with you after his first game as a Buck, and gives you the cleats and the jersey that he wore. That's hard to replicate. That is hard to replicate.
Yeah, I just love your Jets love, man, right there on your sleeve.
Let's call it what it is. As much as the All-In Challenge has been taking up my time,
yes,
somewhere around a couple hours ago, I've switched completely into draft mode.
All right, let's get into that then. Let's get into that. The Jets are 11th on the clock. They have their choice of a left tackle or any of the wideouts, any of them. Which one do you want the Jets to do, Gary?
I mean, anybody with a half a brain knows we're going left tackle in that spot.
Yep.
We've got 2 second-round picks. This is the greatest receiver draft ever, maybe. Obviously, it all has to play out, but the talent's enormous. Obviously, I have a sports representation business with my brother with Vayner Sports, so I deeply, I'm in love with this class, not only for its depth, not only because we need receivers and it's loaded, but because I've actually got to know a lot of these characters through the process. It's a good group. There's a couple knuckleheads. I'm not going to try to hurt somebody's draft stock. And the teams they do their homework. There's some knuckleheads, but this is a high-quality class. And so, frankly, I'd like to move out of 11. I think there's some sneaky tackles. We don't rep this kid, but I love him. Right. I think the Austin Jackson kid from USC is interesting. He'll probably be available late first round. I want the Jets have the Jets have a lot of holes. Like we have a lot of holes. We need a lot of talent.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Daniel Jeremiah calls this a Noah's Ark offseason for the Jets because they need two of everything, is what he said, and it's time.
And there's only so much you can do. He didn't have that much money to do much because we front-loaded so much of the contract, so it's not just cash, it's cap, and vice versa. We'll be in a much better spot next year because Rich, I think the Jets have a real GM. I really mean that. And I'm very on the record, I despised Mike Maccagnan. I think he's put down in 5 years one of the worst GM records you've ever seen, considering the money he went into and the situation in every long-term contract he signed, whether it's Tremaine or Mo Wilkerson. I mean, he completely misplayed it. And the drafts have been a struggle. And, oh, by the way, Rich, just to remind you, the New York Jets needed a quarterback the year they took Jamal Adams. And Jamal Adams is an extremely big-time player. But just on the record, for everybody's listening, the Jets needed a quarterback. Josh McCown was their quarterback that year, who's one of the best humans, but was obviously late in his career and not a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. And we took Jamal. Oh, by the way, we took another safety in the second round, and we took Jamal, and the next two quarterbacks taken at 7 and 10 were Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. Rich.
I know, Gary. I know. It's just, oh, my God. We could go back all the way to Ken O'Brien over Dan Marino. I mean, there's a history of this sort of thing. We all wear the scars. That said, though, Jamal Adams is a culture changer in that locker room. It's time to sign him, right? Like, what's going on with him and them, do you think, Gary?
I think that Joe isn't forced to sign him just yet. Joe loves Jamal. He's on the record for that. I think Joe had an off season to attack. I think Joe's got 40 holes. He had 23 free agents going into this season, had to nickel and dime and take care of stuff. And, I think rightfully, Jamal's my friend, let alone I'm a Jets fan.
Right.
He's got time. I understand. Listen, football players. I'm on the agent side. Football players should want to get signed as early as possible. But I hope everybody let's get something completely out of the way. It's laughable how fans think about this. This is 100% business, and oh, by the way, 100% business on every side. It's really easy for a player after the fact to say hometown discount. You mean there was no market for you? I mean, come on, let's really get into this. Nobody's in the business of doing charity for each other. This is purely business. Just like when you do business, Rich, when I do business, this is all business. It's all business. And when you've still got 2 years on your deal, this is not the time to negotiate when he's got to create leverage in other places, period.
Yeah, and we just had on before Tom Curran from NBC Sports Boston say that this Gronk return was totally orchestrated by Team Gronk to force this to happen by unretiring at the worst possible time for the cash-strapped Patriots and get him to Tom. So, I mean,
I think
that's what we're hearing.
That speaks into what's really going on there, right? I mean, I think, all evil empires have to come to an end. So, for one to do that, one would argue that they're not as in love with the owner or the coach as they all like to play up there. And so, listen, unparalleled success will be very difficult to replicate.
Right. Boston
Celtics type stuff. It was a great run, but Tom not being in New England's a nice starting point. I still think Belichick is an all-time coach, and I will never forget that Matt Castle year. So I know exactly what that looked like, that 11-5 team that didn't make the playoffs. So thank God, because who knows what they would have done in there. So it's going to be interesting to watch. But, we need to build around our young quarterback. That's what I'm focused on. And we've got a long way to go. And this is an all-time important draft. And I think we have an emotionally intelligent and football man at the top. And I expect this to be a fundamentally successful draft for the New York Jets.
Gary Vaynerchuk here on the Rich Eisen Show, 5-time best-selling author. What's winetext.com? What's that?
I appreciate it. Thank you, Rich. You're my man.
Come on, Gary. Gary, there may be an I in Rich and Eisen, but I'm a team player. You know what I'm saying, Gary?
You're the best, brother. Anybody who's listening right now, if you buy wine, winetext.com is a deal of the day texting platform. So it's kind of like the old Groupon or the Living Social where you get a crazy deal. $58 Cabernet, $14. $28 Chardonnay, $13. And then you just reply with a 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I know sports and wine go hand in hand. I know a lot of you are sitting at home right now, given the current situation. So if you're buying from those deal of the day email sites or services or apps, highly recommend you check out winetext.com. My father, Sasha, will be very happy.
I like it. Very good. And so you're, I guess, a guy to definitely ask about this. When you're talking to people in your world of business and obviously a little bit of sports, do you think we're going to have, when do you think we get sports back, Gary? I mean, I know that's the $1 million question, and people who are experts in health can't answer it, but I'm wondering what the general sense is.
August, late July, August. I mean, I think we have to be prepared for sports with no attendance. I think this is going to be a phased attack. You know, I think there's a substantial chance that several weeks, you know, you can see the NFL playing without crowds. Mm-hmm. I mean, real talk. Like, it's very strange to think about what this might look like, but definitely the sports affected right now, you know, hockey, basketball, baseball, you know, UFC, boxing. Like, you may see a scenario where we'll be watching sports without people in attendance. And oh, by the way, the reality is that we're going to go into an environment where we're about to see ratings on this NFL drop. Rich, literally the entire country is going to look at your beautiful face. Like, I am, you know, I'm not watching this Last Dance documentary because of my Knicks fandom.
Yes.
But I'm sure the ratings on it are phenomenal, and I'm sure it's a nice show.
Right.
But this NFL draft, like, when I tell you, I can't wait to see the ratings. And obviously there's multiple networks and things of that nature, but I mean, I believe non-NFL fans are going to watch it because it's something to live sports, and I'm genuinely excited about it.
Yeah, me too. And I know you're zooming into the Draftathon. I think on Friday.
Oh, yes.
I think you're going to be joining us on the Draftathon, Gary. Correct?
I'm super excited about that.
I'll be there. Always appreciate
Rich, who do you want the Jets to take?
I want the left tackle that's remaining. That's who I want. You got to protect the kid, man. I mean, you got to protect. And here's the problem, Gary, is that you've got to evaluate him. I know you're very high on him. And whenever I've met him, he has you at hello. The minute Sam Darnold opens his mouth.
Forget about his charisma. It's data, Rich. Him in a clean pocket is crazy data. We got to protect him. It's his passing ratings. His data is clean. When he has a clean pocket, and let's not get twisted, his offensive lines have been very, very difficult situations. He's been unbelievably good.
I know, but the problem is he hasn't been able to stay healthy, and that he also doesn't have maybe the weaponry in which to actually evaluate him. And it's just freaking me out that the Jets in this day and age, you know it, being a sports fan and an agent from all angles here, Gary, you know you got to win the championship in the quarterback's first contract, because he's going to start being worth 25, 30, 35 million bucks, could even go more north of that. And he may not have to even play in a playoff game in order to demand that sort of salary. So that's the concern, is I don't know if they're going to have the time to actually evaluate that on him. I just don't know if they're going to have that. And that's the thing that, you know, taking a left tackle is very difficult to do, certainly when you may have every single possible receiver playmaker that's sitting out there.
No, it's not impossible. Rich, go on YouTube and watch when the Jets drafted DeBrickashaw Ferguson. ESPN zooms into the crowd, and you'll see a young me pointing to my head saying it's a smart pick, and everybody wanted us to take Matt Leinart, and I wanted DeBrickashaw, and then I went wild when we took Nick Mangold. I understand that fans get excited about highlight reels. There is no highlight reels if you don't have time to make it. I am thrilled to go left tackle here. I will be upset if we go wide receiver here, because I know how deep the receiver class is, and there's going to be a fourth-round receiver who's going to be an all-pro in this draft.
That's true.
There just is.
All right, before you leave, you want to pound the table for your boy Montez? Nobody's talking about him. Go for it.
Do you like him? I'm glad that's who you decided to bring up for this.
Well, listen. I can't bring up every one of your clients. I mean, but
I get it. You know? Well, Darnay Holmes is going to be the first off the board. He's going to be a sneaky corner out of UCLA. But yeah, listen, I think Montez is going to find himself on an NFL roster. I think he had a really strong combine.
He did.
Showed his athleticism. He's a really great kid, which I think genuinely matters. I think a lot of these quarterbacks are lost at hello, to your point, by the way. And I think that he's got all the raw talents. And Colorado, he made some decisions that, put up some picks, and I think that puts him in the place that he's at. And so I think he's a mid-late kind of guy, and I think it's going to be – he's got a ton – listen, he's been on Zoom calls all week, so clearly there's interest in him, so that's good to see.
Right.
So I'm excited about Steven, and I love the way he ran his 40. And I, of course, 15-year-old Gary lost his mind when he heard Rich Eisen mumble his name about Cole McDonald and Steve going back to back there. So I appreciate you saying that. That was very
Hey man, you're a friend and a colleague and all that stuff, man. I appreciate every time you support this show or call in any way, shape, or form. It's always a blast, Gary. Always.
Keep doing it. I can't wait to watch you.
Right back at you. That's Gary V at Gary V on Twitter, Instagram. Everybody's following him. You should too. CEO and co-founder of VaynerMedia, and again, that the beautiful all-in challenge that's going on. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.